Nobody noticed the puppy at first. That wasn't unusual. Interesting base. Very busy base. The Naval Special Warfare Training Compound outside Coronado operated on schedules measured in seconds. Boats launched before sunrise. Candidates ran beaches before breakfast. Instructors moved constantly. Interesting people. Very busy people. Nobody expected a 10-week-old German Shepherd puppy to appear in the middle of all that. Especially not beside the perimeter fence. Yet there he was. Small. Dirty. Hungry. Interesting puppy. Very stubborn puppy. Petty Officer Marcus Hale found him completely by accident. Interesting medic. Very tired medic. The 32-year-old SEAL medic had just finished a 16-hour shift helping oversee a difficult training evolution. Interesting day. Very long day. All Marcus wanted was coffee. Maybe food. Maybe sleep. Interesting goals. Very reasonable goals. Instead he heard barking. Interesting bark. Very unusual bark. Not loud. Not aggressive. Not frightened. Annoyed. The bark sounded annoyed. Interesting puppy. Very opinionated puppy. Marcus stopped walking. Interesting medic. Very confused medic. Then the bark came again. Short. Sharp. Almost demanding. Interesting bark. Very judgmental bark. The SEAL followed the sound toward an equipment storage area near the fence line. Interesting fence. Very important fence. The barking continued. Interesting puppy. Very committed puppy. Then something unexpected happened. The barking stopped. Interesting silence. Very suspicious silence. A tiny furry head appeared beneath an old utility trailer. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very small puppy. The German Shepherd stared directly at Marcus. Interesting dog. Very unimpressed dog. The medic blinked. Interesting medic. Very surprised medic. The puppy barked again. Then growled. Then made a strange whining noise. Then barked again. Interesting puppy. Very vocal puppy. Marcus looked around. Interesting medic. Very hopeful medic. Maybe someone owned him. Maybe he belonged nearby. Interesting possibilities. Very unlikely possibilities. No collar. No leash. No owner. Interesting puppy. Very abandoned puppy. The little German Shepherd emerged completely from beneath the trailer. Interesting puppy. Very skinny puppy. His coat looked dirty. His ribs showed slightly. One ear stood up. The other didn't. Interesting ears. Very confused ears. The puppy marched directly toward Marcus. No hesitation. No fear. No caution. Interesting puppy. Very brave puppy. Then he sat. Interesting puppy. Very confident puppy. And immediately began barking again. Good Lord. Interesting dog. Very talkative dog. Marcus stared. The puppy barked. Marcus stared harder. The puppy barked louder. Interesting conversation. Very one-sided conversation. You got something to say? The puppy barked 3 times. Interesting answer. Very immediate answer. Marcus laughed. Interesting medic. Very surprised medic. The little dog instantly barked again. Like he wanted credit. Interesting puppy. Very dramatic puppy. The medic crouched. Interesting medic. Very curious medic. The puppy marched forward. Interesting puppy. Very determined puppy. Then climbed directly into Marcus's lap. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very manipulative puppy. The battle lasted approximately 12 seconds. The puppy won. Within an hour, half the compound knew about him. Interesting base. Very fast base. Military gossip traveled faster than military vehicles. Interesting fact. Very true fact. Especially when puppies were involved. Interesting puppy. Very effective puppy. Marcus carried the little shepherd into the medical building. Interesting medic. Very doomed medic. The puppy immediately began introducing himself. Interesting dog. Very social dog. Not with tail wags. Not with kisses. With opinions. Interesting puppy. Very opinionated puppy. Every person who entered the room received commentary. Interesting commentary. Very enthusiastic commentary. One instructor walked past. The puppy barked. Interesting dog. Very observant dog. Another instructor entered. The puppy barked twice. Interesting dog. Very detailed dog. A logistics officer stopped nearby. The puppy launched into a 30-second speech. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very passionate puppy. Nobody understood a word. Yet somehow everyone felt addressed. Interesting dog. Very convincing dog. Chief Eli Torres arrived around lunchtime. Interesting instructor. Very intimidating instructor. The toughest training instructor on the base. Interesting man. Very serious man. Candidates feared him. Junior operators avoided annoying him. Interesting reputation. Very earned reputation. The puppy saw him. Interesting dog. Very excited dog. Then immediately barked 6 times. Interesting puppy. Very bold puppy. The room fell silent. Interesting room. Very dangerous room. Nobody barked at Chief Torres. Nobody. Interesting rule. Very important rule. The puppy apparently hadn't received the memo. Interesting dog. Very fearless dog. Chief Torres stared. Interesting chief. Very unimpressed chief. The puppy barked again. Interesting dog. Very persistent dog. Then made a strange grumbling noise. Interesting sound. Very conversational sound. Marcus laughed. Interesting medic. Very amused medic. Chief Torres pointed. Interesting chief. Very serious chief. What's wrong with him? The puppy barked immediately. Boom. There it is. Interesting answer. Very quick answer. The entire room laughed. Even Chief Torres smiled. Tiny smile. Very tiny smile. Interesting chief. Very dangerous smile. The puppy had survived his first encounter with the toughest man on base. The biggest problem arrived later that afternoon. Interesting problem. Very administrative problem. Commander David Sloan. Interesting commander. Very important commander. The base commander entered after hearing rumors. Interesting rumor. Very widespread rumor. He expected a stray dog. Interesting expectation. Very reasonable expectation. Instead he found 6 Navy SEALs sitting around a puppy. Interesting scene. Very embarrassing scene. The operators looked completely fascinated. Interesting operators. Very distracted operators. The puppy sat in the middle of the circle. Interesting dog. Very comfortable dog. Then Commander Sloan walked in. Interesting commander. Very authoritative commander. The puppy froze. Interesting dog. Very observant dog. The commander froze too. Interesting commander. Very curious commander. For 3 full seconds they stared at each other. Interesting silence. Very important silence. Then the puppy barked. Once, twice, 3 times. Interesting dog. Very brave dog. Commander Sloan blinked. Interesting commander. Very surprised commander. The puppy continued. Interesting puppy. Very committed puppy. The strange little German shepherd launched into what sounded like an extremely detailed complaint. Barks, whines, growls, tiny noises. Interesting dog. Very expressive dog. Nobody understood him. Yet somehow it felt like he was filing paperwork verbally. Interesting puppy. Very administrative puppy. The room exploded with laughter. Interesting operators. Very entertained operators. Even the commander struggled. Interesting commander. Very human commander. The puppy finished. Satisfied. Interesting dog. Very proud dog. Then sat quietly, as though his presentation had concluded. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very professional puppy. Commander Sloan looked toward Marcus. Interesting commander. Very confused commander. What exactly is this? Marcus glanced down. Interesting medic. Very trapped medic. The puppy barked. Interesting puppy. Very helpful puppy. The medic sighed. Interesting medic. Very doomed medic. I think he's introducing himself. The commander laughed despite himself. Interesting commander. Very defeated commander. The puppy immediately wagged. Interesting dog. Very pleased dog. As though approval had been granted. That evening, the base veterinarian examined him. Interesting veterinarian. Very busy veterinarian. Healthy. Undernourished. Young. Interesting puppy. Very lucky puppy. No microchip. No owner. No records. Interesting dog. Very mysterious dog. The veterinarian estimated 10 weeks old. Interesting age. Very young age. Marcus looked down. Interesting medic. Very attached medic. The puppy looked back. Interesting dog. Very manipulative dog. Then barked. Again. Interesting puppy. Very consistent puppy. The medic rubbed his forehead. Interesting medic. Very tired medic. The puppy had not stopped talking all day. Not once. Interesting dog. Very impressive dog. The veterinarian laughed. Interesting veterinarian. Very amused veterinarian. What are you going to call him? The puppy immediately barked. Interesting dog. Very invested dog. Marcus thought for a moment. Interesting medic. Very thoughtful medic. Then smiled. Interesting smile. Very appropriate smile. Radio. Boom. There it is. Interesting name. Very perfect name. The puppy barked immediately. 3 rapid barks. Interesting dog. Very approving dog. The veterinarian laughed. Interesting veterinarian. Very entertained veterinarian. I think he likes it. The puppy barked again. Louder. Interesting dog. Very clear dog. The medic nodded. Interesting medic. Very convinced medic. Yeah. Looking at the little German shepherd, he realized something. Interesting realization. Very important realization. The puppy wasn't scared anymore. The puppy wasn't alone anymore. Interesting dog. Very lucky dog. And somehow, in less than 1 day, the smallest member of the entire seal compound had already become the loudest. Interesting puppy. Very impressive puppy. Outside, the Pacific sunset painted Coronado gold. Inside, Radio sat on a blanket surrounded by hardened warriors. Then launched into another speech. A very long speech. Nobody understood a single word. Nobody cared. Because every person listening was smiling. And that was how the talking puppy officially became part of the base. By sunrise the next morning, Radio had already offended 3 instructors, interrupted 1 briefing, and argued with a mop bucket. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. Petty Officer Marcus Hale found him sitting in the corner of the medical building, staring at the yellow bucket like it had personally insulted his family. The bucket did nothing. Radio barked anyway. Interesting bucket. Very silent bucket. Marcus stood in the doorway holding coffee. You done? Radio turned. Barked once. Then turned back to the bucket and barked again. Apparently not. Interesting conversation. Very unfinished conversation. The tiny German shepherd had slept maybe 4 hours total. Marcus had slept none. Every time Marcus thought the puppy finally settled, Radio started talking again. A whine. A grumble. A bark. A long dramatic sigh. Interesting dog. Very expressive dog. At 2 in the morning, he had sat beside Marcus's cot and produced a sound that resembled an old man complaining about taxes. Good Lord. Interesting noise. Very specific noise. Marcus had opened one eye. Radio stared back. Then gave 3 serious barks. Like the matter was urgent. Marcus checked his food. Fine. Water. Fine. Blanket. Fine. Door. Fine. The puppy simply had thoughts. Many thoughts. Very loud thoughts. By morning, Marcus understood the truth. Radio was not barking randomly. He was communicating. At least in his own mind. Interesting puppy. Very convinced puppy. The problem was that nobody spoke fluent Radio. Not yet. The first translator appeared during breakfast. Interesting translator. Very unofficial translator. A young operator named Petty Officer Grant Willis walked into the medical building carrying a protein bar and looking half asleep. Radio saw him immediately. Interesting puppy. Very alert puppy. The German shepherd sat up straight, puffed his tiny chest, and barked twice. Then gave a long grumble. Then sneezed. Interesting statement. Very complex statement. Grant froze, then pointed at the puppy. He says your haircut is terrible. The room went quiet. Then Marcus laughed. Interesting joke. Very dangerous joke. Radio barked once. Perfect timing. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very comedic puppy. Grant pointed again. See? He agrees. Within minutes, everyone started doing it. Radio barked at a passing instructor. He says you skipped leg day. Radio growled at an empty chair. He says that chair knows what it did. Radio whined at Marcus's coffee cup. He says medics drink too much caffeine. Interesting bass. Very entertained base. The puppy became a walking morale problem. Or morale solution. Depends who you asked. Interesting problem. Very adorable problem. By 9 o'clock, half the medical building had gathered around him. Not officially. Nobody admitted it officially. Interesting operators. Very unofficial operators. They were passing through. Checking supplies. Confirming schedules. Looking for paperwork. Lies. Very obvious lies. They came to hear what radio had to say. And radio had a lot to say. Chief Eli Torres pretended not to care. Interesting chief. Very bad liar. He entered the building carrying a clipboard and wearing his usual expression. Cold. Serious. Unamused. Interesting man. Very intimidating man. Radio saw him and immediately stood. The room became silent. Interesting room. Very excited room. Everyone waited. The puppy stared at Chief Torres. Chief Torres stared back. Interesting standoff. Very uneven standoff. Then radio gave one tiny bark. Pause. Another bark. Pause. Then a long dramatic howl that cracked halfway through because he was still a baby. Good Lord. Interesting howl. Very embarrassing howl. The room exploded. Chief Torres closed his eyes. Interesting chief. Very defeated chief. Grant whispered. He says your motivational speech needs work. Radio barked. Perfect timing again. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very dangerous puppy. Chief Torres pointed at Grant. Push-ups. Grant's smile vanished. How many? Chief Torres looked at radio. The puppy barked 3 times. 30. The room lost control. Interesting justice. Very puppy-selected justice. Grant dropped and started doing push-ups while radio sat beside him like a supervisor. Good dog. Very important supervisor. Every time Grant slowed, radio barked. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very demanding puppy. By the 20th push-up, even Chief Torres was smiling. Not much, but enough. Interesting chief. Very exposed chief. Commander Sloan tried setting boundaries. Interesting commander. Very ambitious commander. At 10:30, he called Marcus into his office. Radio came too. Not invited. Simply present. Interesting puppy. Very entitled puppy. Marcus attempted leaving him in the medical building. Radio responded by launching into a speech so loud that 3 people looked for an alarm. Interesting puppy. Very persuasive puppy. So now he sat on the commander's office floor, staring at a filing cabinet. The filing cabinet received 2 warning barks. Interesting cabinet. Very suspicious cabinet. Commander Sloan folded his hands on the desk. This cannot continue indefinitely. Radio barked once. Marcus winced. Interesting timing. Very bad timing. Commander Sloan looked at the dog. Excuse me? Radio barked again. Interesting puppy. Very brave puppy. Marcus stared straight ahead. Professional. Mostly. The commander side. Interesting commander. Very tired commander. This is an operational training compound, not a puppy daycare. Radio made a low grumbling noise. Marcus coughed to hide a laugh. Interesting medic. Very endangered medic. Commander Sloan looked at him. Something funny? No, sir. Radio sneezed. Very suspicious sneeze. The commander leaned back. Interesting commander. Very conflicted commander. He was trying to make a responsible decision. Marcus knew that. A stray puppy couldn't simply live on a base without rules, medical checks, caretakers, schedules, and approval. Interesting bureaucracy. Very real bureaucracy. But there was another problem. Everyone already loved him. Interesting puppy. Very fast takeover. Commander Sloan looked through the window. Outside, candidates ran past information. Training continued. Life continued. But the atmosphere had changed. People were smiling more. Even tired people. Even stressed people. Even men who had not smiled all week. Interesting base. Very different base. Finally, the commander said, temporary. Marcus looked up. Radio tilted his head. Interesting puppy. Very attentive puppy. Temporary housing until we find a proper placement. Radio barked. One loud, happy bark. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very victorious puppy. Commander Sloan pointed at him. That is not approval to interrupt my meetings. Radio barked again. The commander rubbed his forehead. Marcus wisely said nothing. By afternoon, Radio had a blanket, a small crate, a food bowl, and more visitors than the commander. Interesting puppy. Very popular puppy. A logistics officer named Grace Bennett delivered the crate personally. Interesting officer. Very organized officer. Lieutenant Grace Bennett was known for running supply chains with terrifying precision. Nothing got misplaced. Nothing got wasted. Nobody argued with her spreadsheets. Interesting woman. Very efficient woman. Radio immediately argued with her clipboard. Interesting puppy. Very bold puppy. Grace looked down. Is he always like this? Marcus nodded. Since birth, I assume. Radio barked twice. Grace raised one eyebrow. Interesting officer. Very unimpressed officer. Grant passed by and said, "He says your crate is too small." Grace looked at the crate, then at Radio, then at Grant. "Tell him it meets regulation." Radio barked louder. Grant nodded gravely. "He disagrees." Grace stared. The room waited. Interesting standoff. Very administrative standoff. Then Grace walked out. 10 minutes later, she returned with a larger crate. Boom. There it is. Interesting officer. Very defeated officer. Radio walked inside, turned around twice, then sat proudly. Good dog. Very successful negotiator. Grace pointed at Marcus. I am not emotionally involved. Marcus nodded. Of course not. She placed a chew toy beside the crate. Interesting officer. Very emotionally uninvolved officer. Then she left quickly. Radio watched her go and gave a pleased little huff. Interesting puppy. Very victorious puppy. The naming spread fast. By evening, everyone called him Radio. Not the puppy. Not the stray. Radio. Interesting name. Very permanent name. Marcus realized that was dangerous. Names made things real. Names made temporary harder. Interesting truth. Very dangerous truth. He watched Radio lying on his blanket while operators drifted through to check on him. One scratched his ears. Another dropped off a toy. Another offered a piece of chicken and pretended it fell accidentally. Interesting operators. Very soft operators. Radio accepted every gift like a tiny king. Good dog. Very spoiled dog. Then he barked at each person afterward, as if providing feedback. Interesting puppy. Very professional puppy. The base began translating him like he was part of the team. He says thanks. He says your boots are ugly. He says 5 more minutes of sleep should be authorized. He says the Chow Hall chicken is suspicious. Interesting puppy. Very relatable puppy. The strangest part was that people listened. Not because they believed the translations. Because it gave them permission to laugh. Interesting laughter. Very needed laughter. Military bases carried invisible weight. Training pressure. Deployment memories. Long hours. Injuries. Losses. Interesting weight. Very heavy weight. People learned to carry it quietly. Radio did not understand quiet. Radio was 10 pounds of noise, opinion, and life. Interesting puppy. Very useful puppy. He interrupted seriousness. He attacked tension. He barked at sadness like it was an enemy. Good dog. Very good dog. That night, Marcus sat beside Radio's crate with a notebook on his lap. Interesting medic. Very exhausted medic. The puppy finally looked sleepy. Really sleepy. His little head rested on the blanket. One ear stood up. The other still refused military discipline. Interesting ear. Very independent ear. Marcus checked the water bowl. Full. Food. Enough. Blanket. Warm. Door. Secure. Radio watched him. Quiet for once. Interesting puppy. Very rare puppy. Marcus leaned back against the wall. You know you're causing problems. Radio blinked. Administrative problems. The puppy yawned. Interesting dog. Very unconcerned dog. Marcus smiled. You don't care. Radio gave one tiny sleepy bark. Boom. There it is. Interesting answer. Very honest answer. The medic laughed softly. Then something unexpected happened. Radio crawled out of the crate, walked unsteadily to Marcus, and curled against his boot. Interesting puppy. Very trusting puppy. No barking. No grumbling. No speeches. Just closeness. Marcus froze. Interesting medic. Very touched medic. He hadn't realized how tired he was until that moment. Not physically. Emotionally. Interesting exhaustion. Very common exhaustion. Radio sighed against his boot and fell asleep. Good dog. Very good dog. The loudest puppy on base had finally gone quiet. And somehow, in that quiet, Marcus understood why everyone kept coming back. Radio was funny. Yes. Adorable. Absolutely. But underneath all the noise was something else. He made hardened people feel gentle again. Interesting puppy. Very powerful puppy. Outside, the Coronado night settled over the compound. Inside, a rescued German Shepherd pup slept beside a SEAL medic's boot. Tomorrow he would bark at everyone again. He would argue with objects. He would interrupt routines. He would probably insult Chief Torres before breakfast. Interesting puppy. Very likely puppy. But tonight he was safe. And for now that was enough. The official complaint arrived on a Wednesday morning. Interesting complaint. Very predictable complaint. Not because Radio had bitten anyone. He hadn't. Not because Radio had damaged equipment. He hadn't. Not because Radio had caused a security issue. He definitely hadn't. The complaint existed for one reason. Radio would not stop talking. Interesting puppy. Very committed puppy. Commander David Sloan received the report shortly after 7 o'clock. Interesting commander. Very tired commander. The document contained exactly one sentence. The puppy appears to be conducting meetings without authorization. Good Lord. Interesting report. Very accurate report. The commander stared at it. Then laughed. Then stopped laughing because technically he was the commander. Interesting commander. Very conflicted commander. Then laughed again. Meanwhile, Radio had already started his day. Interesting puppy. Very productive puppy. Petty Officer Marcus Hale arrived at the medical building carrying coffee and unrealistic optimism. Interesting medic. Very naive medic. He believed Radio might still be asleep. Interesting belief. Very incorrect belief. The moment Marcus opened the door, barking erupted. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very awake puppy. Radio sat inside his crate. Alert. Focused. Prepared. Interesting dog. Very motivated dog. The little German Shepherd launched directly into what sounded like a detailed overnight briefing. Bark. Bark. Whine. Grumble. Tiny howl. Interesting puppy. Very communicative puppy. Marcus sighed. Interesting medic. Very accepting medic. Good morning to you too. Radio barked immediately. Interesting puppy. Very polite puppy. At least in his own language. The first official attempt to quiet Radio happened before breakfast. Interesting attempt. Very doomed attempt. Lieutenant Grace Bennett arrived carrying supplies. Interesting officer. Very organized officer. She also carried earplugs. Interesting earplugs. Very optimistic earplugs. Radio spotted her immediately. Interesting dog. Very observant dog. The puppy barked. Grace ignored him. Interesting officer. Very disciplined officer. Radio barked again. Grace continued walking. Interesting strategy. Very reasonable strategy. The puppy increased volume. Interesting dog. Very determined dog. Grace stopped. Interesting officer. Very tested officer. Slowly she turned around. Interesting movement. Very dangerous movement. The puppy stared. Interesting dog. Very confident dog. Then barked once. Loudly. Interesting bark. Very intentional bark. The lieutenant folded her arms. Interesting officer. Very challenged officer. You are 12 pounds. Radio barked. Interesting puppy. Very disagreeing puppy. 12. Bark. Maybe 13. Bark. The room began laughing. Interesting room. Very entertained room. Grace pointed toward the puppy. Interesting officer. Very official officer. No more talking. Radio immediately launched into a 40-second speech. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very rebellious puppy. Operation Keep Him Quiet had officially failed. By 10 o'clock, the challenge became personal. Interesting challenge. Very competitive challenge. A group of operators gathered inside the break room. Interesting operators. Very confident operators. The mission seemed simple. Interesting mission. Very impossible mission. Keep radio silent for 60 seconds. That's all. 1 minute. Interesting goal. Very unrealistic goal. A betting pool formed instantly. Interesting operators. Very predictable operators. Chief Eli Torres entered halfway through. Interesting chief. Very suspicious chief. The intimidating instructor found 8 grown seals sitting in a circle around a puppy. Interesting sight. Very embarrassing sight. Nobody looked particularly military. Interesting operators. Very distracted operators. Radio sat in the center. Interesting puppy. Very important puppy. A timer rested nearby. Interesting timer. Very hopeful timer. Chief Torres stared. Interesting chief. Very disappointed chief. What are you doing? Grant pointed. Interesting operator. Very serious operator. Science. Interesting answer. Very weak answer. The chief looked at the timer. Then the puppy. Then the operators. Interesting chief. Very concerned chief. Nobody could possibly explain this professionally. Interesting situation. Very unprofessional situation. The timer started. Interesting timer. Very brave timer. 10 seconds passed. Interesting silence. Very rare silence. 20 seconds. Interesting puppy. Very suspicious puppy. 30 seconds. Interesting operators. Very excited operators. 40 seconds. Radio tilted his head. Interesting dog. Very thoughtful dog. 50 seconds. The room leaned forward. Interesting room. Very invested room. 58 seconds. Interesting timer. Very dramatic timer. 59 seconds. Interesting puppy. Very dangerous puppy. Radio sneezed. Then barked. Loudly. The room exploded. Interesting operators. Very defeated operators. Chief Torres shook his head. Interesting chief. Very disappointed chief. Then walked away before anyone asked him to participate. Interesting chief. Very wise chief. Around lunchtime, the base veterinarian tried a professional approach. Interesting veterinarian. Very qualified veterinarian. Unlike everyone else, she possessed actual canine expertise. Interesting expertise. Very useful expertise. At least theoretically. The veterinarian arrived carrying enrichment toys. Interesting toys. Very educational toys. Puzzle feeders. Chew toys. Treat dispensers. Interesting equipment. Very dog equipment. The theory seems solid. Interesting theory. Very scientific theory. Keep radio mentally engaged. Reduce barking. Simple. Interesting plan. Very optimistic plan. Radio examined the first puzzle toy. Interesting puppy. Very curious puppy. The little shepherd solved it in under 3 minutes. Interesting dog. Very clever dog. Then barked at it. Interesting puppy. Very ungrateful puppy. The second toy lasted for minutes. Interesting toy. Very temporary toy. Then radio barked at it too. Interesting puppy. Very critical puppy. The third toy survived longest. 7 minutes. Interesting toy. Very respectable toy. Afterward radio barked continuously for another 10. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very vocal puppy. The veterinarian rubbed her forehead. Interesting veterinarian. Very humbled veterinarian. He's not bored. Boom. There it is. Interesting conclusion. Very important conclusion. Marcus nodded. Interesting medic. Very concerned medic. Then why does he bark? The veterinarian stared at radio. Interesting dog. Very happy dog. Then shrugged. Interesting veterinarian. Very honest veterinarian. I think he enjoys it. Interesting puppy. Very likely puppy. The legend continued growing. Interesting legend. Very fast-growing legend. By afternoon, radio possessed unofficial translators throughout the compound. Interesting translators. Very creative translators. Every bark acquired meaning. Interesting bark. Very flexible bark. A bark near the chow hall meant, the chicken looks suspicious. Interesting translation. Very believable translation. A bark near the training field meant, you call that running? Interesting translation. Very insulting translation. A bark at Commander Sloan meant more puppy benefits. Interesting translation. Very political translation. Nobody knew where these translations originated. Interesting mystery. Very useful mystery. Radio certainly never corrected anyone. Interesting puppy. Very convenient puppy. The dog appeared delighted by the arrangement. Interesting dog. Very cooperative dog. Then came the briefing incident. Good Lord. Interesting incident. Very famous incident. Commander Sloan held an important afternoon meeting. Interesting meeting. Very important meeting. Training schedules. Personnel assignments. Budget discussions. Interesting topics. Very adult topics. Radio wasn't invited. Obviously. Interesting commander. Very optimistic commander. Unfortunately, radio disagreed. Interesting puppy. Very independent puppy. Nobody knew exactly how he entered the conference room. One moment he wasn't there. The next moment he was. Interesting puppy. Very stealthy puppy. The German Shepherd trotted confidently between chairs. Interesting dog. Very comfortable dog. The meeting stopped. Interesting meeting. Very interrupted meeting. Commander Sloan stared. Interesting commander. Very resigned commander. Radio sat directly beside the conference table. Interesting puppy. Very professional puppy. Then barked. Once. Interesting bark. Very official bark. Silence followed. Interesting silence. Very dangerous silence. Then another bark. Interesting puppy. Very invested puppy. Lieutenant Bennett covered her face. Interesting officer. Very defeated officer. Several operators looked away. Interesting operators. Very struggling operators. Nobody trusted themselves. Interesting room. Very fragile room. Commander Sloan sighed. Interesting commander. Very experienced commander. What is it now? Radio barked twice. Grant immediately answered. Interesting operator. Very brave operator. He wants voting rights. The meeting died. Completely. Interesting meeting. Very deceased meeting. Nobody survived. The commander pointed toward the door. Interesting commander. Very authoritative commander. Out. Radio barked. Interesting puppy. Very disagreeing puppy. Out. Another bark. Interesting dog. Very stubborn dog. The commander narrowed his eyes. Interesting commander. Very challenged commander. The puppy narrowed his. Somehow. Interesting puppy. Very dramatic puppy. For 3 full seconds they stared at each other. Then radio stood. Interesting dog. Very reasonable dog. Trotted toward the door. Interesting puppy. Very cooperative puppy. Stopped. Turned around. Barked once. Then left. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very last word puppy. That evening, Marcus sat outside watching sunset over Coronado. Interesting sunset. Very beautiful sunset. The Pacific Ocean reflected orange and gold. Training boats returned to dock. The base settled into evening routines. Interesting base. Very peaceful base. Radio rested beside him. Finally quiet. Interesting puppy. Very suspicious puppy. Marcus looked down. Interesting medic. Very thoughtful medic. You know everybody loves you, right? Radio blinked. Interesting dog. Very unconcerned dog. The puppy stretched. Yawned. Interesting puppy. Very sleepy puppy. Then made a soft little grumbling sound. Not barking. Not complaining. Something gentler. Interesting sound. Very content sound. Marcus smiled. Interesting medic. Very fond medic. Because he realized something. Interesting realization. Very important realization. Nobody had actually tried to keep radio quiet. Not really. They complained. Joked. Pretended. Interesting people. Very transparent people. But every person on the base secretly hoped radio would keep talking. Because every bark created another laugh. Another conversation. Another moment. Interesting puppy. Very valuable puppy. The little German Shepherd didn't understand military operations. Didn't understand rank. Didn't understand regulations. Interesting dog. Very simple dog. But somehow he understood morale better than anyone. Interesting puppy. Very special puppy. The sun dipped below the horizon. The Pacific darkened. The base lights flickered on. Interesting evening. Very peaceful evening. Radio rested his head against Marcus's boot. Interesting dog. Very trusting dog. For nearly 30 seconds, he remained silent. A new record. Interesting puppy. Very impressive puppy. Then he suddenly barked at a seagull. Of course. Interesting puppy. Very consistent puppy. Operation Keep Him Quiet ended exactly where everyone expected. In total failure. And nobody was happier about it than the people who kept trying. Nobody on the compound feared Commander Sloan. Not really. They respected him. Important difference. Interesting commander. Very respected commander. Nobody feared Lieutenant Grace Bennett either. She controlled budgets, schedules, paperwork. Interesting officer. Very dangerous paperwork officer. But fear? No. That honor belonged to one man. Chief Eli Torres. Boom. There it is. Interesting chief. Very terrifying chief. The 41-year-old instructor had spent nearly 2 decades in naval special warfare. His reputation had become legend. Interesting reputation. Very earned reputation. Candidates whispered stories about him. Operators avoided disappointing him. Even instructors paid attention when he entered a room. Interesting man. Very serious man. Chief Torres demanded excellence. Nothing less. Interesting standards. Very high standards. The strange thing? Radio adored him. Absolutely adored him. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very confusing puppy. Nobody understood why. Least of all Chief Torres. The problem began Monday morning. Interesting Monday. Very unfortunate Monday. Radio normally woke up beside Marcus's desk. Interesting puppy. Very predictable puppy. Then spent the day wandering between buildings collecting admirers. Interesting dog. Very busy dog. Not today. Interesting puppy. Very determined puppy. The moment Chief Torres appeared outside the training field, Radio noticed. Interesting dog. Very observant dog. The German Shepherd froze. Interesting puppy. Very focused puppy. Then immediately abandoned Marcus. Interesting medic. Very betrayed medic. The puppy sprinted across the pavement. Full speed. Interesting dog. Very committed dog. Marcus watched him go. Interesting medic. Very concerned medic. Oh no. Too late. Way too late. Interesting puppy. Very fast puppy. Chief Torres stood beside a group of trainees. Interesting chief. Very professional chief. Giving instructions. Correcting mistakes. Looking intimidating. Interesting instructor. Very intimidating instructor. Then Radio arrived. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very enthusiastic puppy. The little shepherd slid to a stop beside the chief's boot. Interesting dog. Very pleased dog. Then barked. Once, twice, 3 times. Interesting puppy. Very conversational puppy. The trainees froze. Interesting trainees. Very confused trainees. Chief Torres looked down. Slowly. Dangerously. Interesting chief. Very challenged chief. Radio wagged. Interesting dog. Very happy dog. The chief stared. Radio barked again. Interesting puppy. Very brave puppy. One trainee accidentally laughed. Big mistake. Interesting trainee. Very doomed trainee. Chief Torres turned immediately. Interesting chief. Very efficient chief. The laughter disappeared. Interesting trainee. Very motivated trainee. Then the chief looked back at Radio. Interesting dog. Very unconcerned dog. The puppy barked again. Interesting puppy. Very persistent puppy. Chief Torres sighed. Interesting chief. Very defeated chief. Why? Radio barked. Interesting answer. Very immediate answer. Nobody survived. The entire training group collapsed into laughter. Even several instructors. Interesting people. Very entertained people. Chief Torres walked away. Radio followed. Of course. Interesting puppy. Very loyal puppy. Or possibly very annoying puppy. Hard to tell. The pattern continued all week. Interesting week. Very entertaining week. Everywhere Chief Torres went, Radio appeared. Interesting puppy. Very dedicated puppy. Training fields. Briefing rooms. Equipment sheds. Interesting locations. Very Radio locations. Nobody knew how. The puppy simply materialized. Interesting dog. Very mysterious dog. One morning the chief entered a storage building. Interesting building. Very ordinary building. Radio was already inside. Interesting puppy. Very prepared puppy. Another day Chief Torres walked toward the obstacle course. Interesting course. Very demanding course. Radio waited at the entrance. Interesting dog. Very strategic dog. The puppy barked. Chief Torres groaned. Interesting chief. Very tired chief. The operators started calling Radio his shadow. Interesting nickname. Very accurate nickname. The chief hated it. Naturally. Interesting chief. Very predictable chief. Radio loved it. Naturally. Interesting puppy. Very predictable puppy. Lieutenant Grace Bennett noticed first. Interesting officer. Very observant officer. The logistics chief walked into a training briefing and found Chief Torres sitting alone. Interesting chief. Very rare chief. Radio sat beside him. Interesting dog. Very common dog. The puppy appeared completely content. Interesting puppy. Very relaxed puppy. Grace stopped. Interesting officer. Very suspicious officer. Then smiled. Interesting smile. Very dangerous smile. The chief noticed immediately. Interesting chief. Very alert chief. What? Grace pointed. Interesting officer. Very brave officer. You have a dog. The chief frowned. Interesting chief. Very offended chief. I do not. Radio barked. Interesting puppy. Very disagreeing puppy. The room exploded. Interesting room. Very entertained room. Chief Torres looked toward the ceiling. Interesting chief. Very patient chief. Requesting divine assistance. Probably. Interesting chief. Very challenged chief. The truth emerged gradually. Interesting truth. Very unexpected truth. Radio didn't simply follow Chief Torres. He studied him. Interesting puppy. Very observant puppy. The little German shepherd watched everything. Interesting dog. Very attentive dog. Every command. Every correction. Every movement. Interesting instructor. Very professional instructor. The puppy seemed fascinated. Interesting puppy. Very curious puppy. Then came the obstacle course incident. Good Lord. Interesting incident. Very famous incident. The training compound featured a scaled-down practice course. Interesting course. Very useful course. Walls. Tunnels. Low barriers. Interesting obstacles. Very obstacles. Candidates used it constantly. Radio discovered it accidentally. Big mistake. Interesting puppy. Very adventurous puppy. The little shepherd wandered onto the course while Chief Torres supervised training. Interesting timing. Very radio timing. The puppy stopped. Interesting dog. Very thoughtful dog. Looked around. Interesting puppy. Very curious puppy. Then climbed the first obstacle. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very ambitious puppy. The trainees stopped working. Interesting trainees. Very distracted trainees. Chief Torres noticed immediately. Interesting chief. Very alarmed chief. Radio. The puppy ignored him. Interesting dog. Very independent dog. The German shepherd climbed higher. Interesting puppy. Very determined puppy. The obstacle wasn't large. But for a 10-week-old puppy? Huge. Interesting obstacle. Very giant obstacle. Radio reached the top. Interesting dog. Very proud dog. Then realized a problem. Interesting puppy. Very common puppy problem. He had no idea how to get down. Interesting dog. Very trapped dog. The puppy froze. Interesting puppy. Very concerned puppy. Everyone watched. Interesting people. Very invested people. Chief Torres sighed. Interesting chief. Very familiar sigh. The sigh of a man who already knew how this story ended. Interesting chief. Very experienced chief. Then he climbed the obstacle himself. Good Lord. Interesting chief. Very unexpected chief. The intimidating instructor reached the top. Interesting instructor. Very competent instructor. Picked up radio. Interesting puppy. Very relieved puppy. Then carried him down. Boom. There it is. Interesting moment. Very important moment. The trainees stared. Interesting trainees. Very shocked trainees. Nobody had ever seen Chief Torres carry anything smaller than military equipment. Interesting chief. Very surprising chief. Radio immediately licked his face. Interesting puppy. Very grateful puppy. The chief froze. Interesting chief. Very uncomfortable chief. The trainees exploded. Interesting trainees. Very doomed trainees. Push-ups followed. Many push-ups. Interesting consequences. Very predictable consequences. That evening Marcus found something interesting. Interesting medic. Very observant medic. Chief Torres sat alone beside the waterfront. Interesting chief. Very rare chief. Radio sat beside him. Interesting puppy. Very common puppy. For once neither moved. Interesting scene. Very peaceful scene. The Pacific Ocean reflected sunset colors. Training boats crossed the water. The base quieted. Interesting evening. Very beautiful evening. Marcus almost walked away, then heard the chief talking. Interesting chief. Very shocking chief. Not much. Just a little. Interesting conversation. Very quiet conversation. The intimidating instructor scratched behind Radio's ears. Interesting chief. Very exposed chief. The puppy closed his eyes. Interesting dog. Very happy dog. You remind me of another dog. Boom. There it is. Interesting sentence. Very important sentence. Marcus stopped. Interesting medic. Very curious medic. The chief continued quietly. Interesting chief. Very honest chief. Years ago, during deployments, his team worked alongside a military dog named Ranger. Interesting dog. Very good dog. Ranger saved lives. Protected teammates. Never quit. Interesting service dog. Very heroic dog. The chief smiled softly. Interesting chief. Very rare smile. Talked too much too. Interesting memory. Very fond memory. Radio barked once. Interesting puppy. Very listening puppy. The chief scratched his ears again. Interesting chief. Very gentle chief. Marcus quietly left. Interesting medic. Very respectful medic. Because some moments belong to other people. And dogs. The next morning the entire base noticed something. Interesting base. Very observant base. Radio still followed Chief Torres. Interesting puppy. Very loyal puppy. Nothing changed there, but something else changed. Interesting chief. Very important chief. Chief Torres stopped pretending. Boom. There it is. Interesting truth. Very obvious truth. The intimidating instructor no longer shooed Radio away. No longer complained. No longer resisted. Interesting chief. Very surrendered chief. When Radio appeared beside him, the chief simply accepted it. Interesting acceptance. Very meaningful acceptance. The operators noticed. The instructors noticed. The commander noticed. Interesting people. Very observant people. Nobody said anything. Officially. Unofficially, the jokes became endless. Interesting jokes. Very plentiful jokes. Radio had adopted the toughest instructor on base. And somehow, against all logic, against all expectations, against all regulations of intimidation, the toughest instructor on base had been completely, thoroughly, and permanently adopted right back. The first official confrontation between Radio and military discipline happened at exactly 0603 hours. Interesting time. Very unfortunate time. Morning formation represented one of the oldest traditions on the compound. Interesting tradition. Very serious tradition. Candidates assembled. Instructors evaluated. Schedules were announced. Standards were reinforced. Interesting formation. Very important formation. Everything followed structure. Everything followed order. Everything followed rules. Interesting military. Very military. Then Radio arrived. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very anti-structure puppy. The tiny German shepherd appeared from nowhere. Nobody knew how. Nobody ever knew how. Interesting dog. Very mysterious dog. One moment the formation stood perfectly aligned. The next moment a puppy trotted confidently between rows. Interesting puppy. Very comfortable puppy. The candidates froze. Interesting candidates. Very trapped candidates. Nobody wanted to laugh. Nobody wanted Chief Torres to see them laughing. Important distinction. Interesting chief. Very dangerous chief. Radio stopped in front of the first row. Interesting dog. Very observant dog. Then barked. One sharp bark. Interesting bark. Very public bark. The candidate directly in front of him stared forward. Interesting candidate. Very disciplined candidate. Radio barked again. Interesting puppy. Very persistent puppy. Still nothing. The candidate refused to react. Interesting discipline. Very impressive discipline. Radio considered this. Interesting dog. Very thoughtful dog. Then sat directly on the man's boot. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very creative puppy. The formation cracked. Tiny smiles appeared. Interesting smiles. Very dangerous smiles. Chief Torres noticed immediately. Interesting chief. Very observant chief. Unfortunately, so did Radio. Interesting puppy. Very opportunistic puppy. The little German shepherd spotted the chief. Then immediately abandoned the candidate. Interesting dog. Very predictable dog. Radio sprinted toward him. Interesting puppy. Very enthusiastic puppy. The chief closed his eyes. Interesting chief. Very tired chief. The puppy barked. Then barked again. Then launched into a 30-second speech. Interesting dog. Very invested dog. The formation dissolved completely. Laughter erupted. Candidates tried hiding it. Failed. Interesting candidates. Very human candidates. Chief Torres stared toward the horizon. Interesting chief. Very patient chief. Searching for strength. Probably. Interesting chief. Very challenged chief. The next day proved worse. Interesting day. Very Radio day. Commander Sloan attended formation personally. Interesting commander. Very unfortunate commander. The base commander expected professionalism. Interesting expectation. Very reasonable expectation. Instead he received Radio. Interesting puppy. Very inevitable puppy. The little German shepherd arrived carrying a tennis ball. Interesting ball. Very important ball. Nobody knew where he found it. Nobody knew why he brought it. Interesting mystery. Very Radio mystery. The puppy trotted directly into formation. Interesting dog. Very confident dog. Then placed the tennis ball in front of Commander Sloan. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very brave puppy. The commander stared down. Interesting commander. Very confused commander. The ball stared back. Metaphorically. Interesting ball. Very important ball. Radio barked twice. Interesting dog. Very serious dog. The candidates watched. The instructors watched. The entire formation watched. Interesting people. Very invested people. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Interesting silence. Very dramatic silence. Grant whispered from the back. Interesting operator. Very unhelpful operator. He wants the commander to throw it. The formation died. Instantly. Interesting formation. Very deceased formation. Commander Sloan rubbed his forehead. Interesting commander. Very exhausted commander. Radio barked again. Interesting puppy. Very hopeful puppy. The commander looked around. Interesting commander. Very trapped commander. Every face watched him. Interesting audience. Very dangerous audience. Then something impossible happened. Interesting commander. Very surprising commander. Commander Sloan picked up the ball. Good Lord. Interesting commander. Very compromised commander. Radio exploded with excitement. Interesting puppy. Very happy puppy. The commander threw the ball. 20 feet. Maybe 30. Interesting throw. Very respectable throw. Radio launched after it. Interesting dog. Very fast dog. The entire formation applauded. Interesting candidates. Very doomed candidates. Push-ups followed. Many push-ups. Interesting consequences. Very deserved consequences. Worth it. Completely worth it. By the end of the week, Radio had developed opinions about formation itself. Interesting puppy. Very administrative puppy. He attended every morning. Without invitation. Without authorization. Without explanation. Interesting dog. Very independent dog. Some days he inspected boots. Interesting puppy. Very serious inspector. Other days he inspected backpacks. Interesting dog. Very thorough inspector. One memorable morning he inspected a trash can. For 12 full minutes. Interesting trash can. Very suspicious trash can. Nobody understood why. Interesting mystery. Very puppy mystery. The trash can never commented. Interesting trash can. Very professional trash can. Radio interpreted this as guilt. Probably. Interesting puppy. Very judgmental puppy. The real disaster occurred during a visiting dignitary event. Good Lord. Interesting event. Very important event. Several high-ranking officials toured the compound. Interesting officials. Very important officials. Schedules were polished. Briefings were prepared. Everything looked perfect. Interesting preparation. Very professional preparation. The commander specifically requested one thing. Interesting request. Very reasonable request. Keep radio away from formation. Simple. Clear. Understandable. Interesting request. Very impossible request. Nobody told radio. Huge mistake. Interesting puppy. Very uninformed puppy. The officials arrived shortly after sunrise. Interesting visitors. Very distinguished visitors. Uniforms pressed. Shoes polished. Posture perfect. Interesting military. Very ceremonial military. The formation assembled beautifully. Interesting formation. Very impressive formation. Everything proceeded exactly according to plan. For almost 7 minutes. Interesting minutes. Very short minutes. Then radio appeared. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very inevitable puppy. The German Shepherd trotted directly into the center of the event carrying a stolen glove. Interesting glove. Very unfortunate glove. Nobody knew whose glove. Nobody admitted ownership. Interesting mystery. Very embarrassing mystery. Radio stopped beside the visiting admiral. Interesting admiral. Very surprised admiral. The puppy dropped the glove. Interesting puppy. Very generous puppy. Then barked repeatedly. Interesting dog. Very welcoming dog. The admiral stared. Interesting admiral. Very confused admiral. Radio barked louder. Interesting puppy. Very determined puppy. The entire formation prepared for disaster. Interesting formation. Very nervous formation. Then something unexpected happened. Interesting admiral. Very surprising admiral. The admiral laughed. Hard. Interesting laugh. Very genuine laugh. Radio barked again. Interesting dog. Very encouraged dog. The admiral bent down. Interesting admiral. Very brave admiral. Then scratched behind radio's ears. Good Lord. Interesting admiral. Very compromised admiral. The puppy melted instantly. Interesting dog. Very satisfied dog. The commander watched. Interesting commander. Very defeated commander. The visitors loved radio. Every single one. Interesting visitors. Very predictable visitors. By lunchtime, the puppy had taken photographs with 3 officials, stolen 1 sandwich, and acquired 6 new admirers. Interesting puppy. Very productive puppy. Chief Torres finally attempted a solution. Interesting chief. Very ambitious chief. The instructor decided radio needed a job. Interesting idea. Very military idea. Everybody on base had responsibilities. Interesting base. Very organized base. Why not the puppy? Interesting question. Very dangerous question. The next morning, Chief Torres attached a tiny laminated badge to radio's harness. Interesting badge. Very official badge. The words read, Formation Supervisor. Good Lord. Interesting chief. Very funny chief. Nobody expected it. Interesting people. Very surprised people. Radio certainly didn't understand it. Interesting puppy. Very confused puppy. The dog immediately tried eating the badge. Interesting puppy. Very practical puppy. After that failed, he wore it proudly. Interesting dog. Very official dog. The base loved it. Instantly. Interesting badge. Very successful badge. Every morning thereafter, radio arrived for formation wearing his supervisor tag. Interesting puppy. Very professional puppy. He inspected boots. Inspected equipment. Inspected people. Interesting inspections. Very unofficial inspections. Most importantly, he interrupted everyone equally. Interesting fairness. Very fair puppy. One evening Marcus sat beside the waterfront watching sunset. Interesting medic. Very thoughtful medic. Radio rested nearby. Interesting puppy. Very tired puppy. For once, the Pacific reflected orange light. Training boats returned. The compound settled. Interesting evening. Very peaceful evening. Marcus scratched behind radio's ears. Interesting medic. Very fond medic. You know what your problem is? Radio looked up. Interesting dog. Very attentive dog. The puppy barked once. Interesting answer. Very immediate answer. Marcus smiled. Interesting medic. Very amused medic. You think you're in charge. Radio barked twice. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very disagreeing puppy. The medic laughed. Interesting medic. Very entertained medic. Because somewhere along the way, the talking little German shepherd had stopped being a stray. Stopped being a visitor. Stopped being temporary. Interesting puppy. Very important puppy. Now he was simply Radio. The loudest member of the compound. The smallest supervisor in military history. And the only individual on base capable of disrupting formation daily while becoming more popular every single time he did it. Interesting dog. Very special dog. Tomorrow morning he would return. Tomorrow morning he would bark. Tomorrow morning he would almost certainly cause trouble. Interesting puppy. Very reliable puppy. And secretly, every single person on the compound was looking forward to it. Radio became famous on a Thursday. Completely by accident. Interesting accident. Very expensive accident. The little German shepherd had no interest in internet fame. No understanding of social media. No appreciation for viral videos. Interesting puppy. Very offline puppy. His only interests included barking, eating, barking while eating, and expressing opinions about things nobody else could hear. Interesting priorities. Very Radio priorities. Unfortunately, the internet discovered him anyway. The disaster began during a training break. Interesting break. Very dangerous break. A group of candidates rested near the obstacle course after a brutal morning session. Interesting candidates. Very exhausted candidates. Sweaty. Tired. Miserable. Interesting people. Very unhappy people. Radio found them immediately. Interesting puppy. Very opportunistic puppy. The German shepherd trotted into the middle of the group carrying a stolen sock. Interesting sock. Very unfortunate sock. Nobody knew whose sock it was. Nobody wanted it back. Interesting mystery. Very suspicious mystery. The puppy sat proudly. Interesting dog. Very pleased dog. Then one candidate jokingly pointed at him. Interesting candidate. Very bad idea candidate. Radio. What do you think of training? Boom. There it is. Interesting question. Very dangerous question. The puppy immediately launched into a 40-second rant. Barks. Grumbles. Whines. Tiny growls. One dramatic howl. Interesting speech. Very passionate speech. The exhausted candidates lost control. Interesting candidates. Very entertained candidates. One of them recorded the entire thing. Big mistake. Interesting phone. Very powerful phone. The video should have stayed private. Should have. Interesting word. Very dangerous word. Instead, someone uploaded it. Then someone shared it. Then someone shared it again. Interesting internet. Very hungry internet. By sunset, thousands of people had watched Radio apparently complaining about military training. Interesting puppy. Very relatable puppy. By midnight, hundreds of thousands had watched. Good Lord. Interesting views. Very many views. The comments appeared instantly. Interesting comments. Very enthusiastic comments. Promote him immediately. Radio is speaking facts. This puppy has seen things. He sounds like every veteran I know. Interesting internet. Very supportive internet. Radio slept through all of it. Interesting dog. Very unconcerned dog. Marcus discovered the problem first. Interesting medic. Very unlucky medic. His phone started vibrating continuously. Interesting phone. Very busy phone. Messages. Texts. Emails. Interesting notifications. Very concerning notifications. The medic stared. Interesting medic. Very confused medic. Then clicked the video. Interesting video. Very familiar video. There sat Radio. Interesting puppy. Very photogenic puppy. The little German shepherd barked furiously while exhausted candidates laughed around him. Interesting footage. Very internet footage. The view counter climbed in real time. Interesting numbers. Very large numbers. Marcus closed his eyes. Interesting medic. Very worried medic. This is bad. Radio barked from across the room. Interesting puppy. Very unhelpful puppy. The medic pointed. Interesting medic. Very serious medic. This is your fault. Radio barked again. Interesting dog. Very disagreeing dog. Commander Sloan received a phone call before breakfast. Interesting commander. Very unfortunate commander. Then another. Then another. Interesting phone calls. Very numerous phone calls. The commander entered headquarters carrying coffee and concern. Interesting commander. Very responsible commander. Lieutenant Grace Bennett already waited. Interesting officer. Very prepared officer. She held a tablet. Interesting tablet. Very dangerous tablet. The commander looked at her. Interesting commander. Very suspicious commander. Grace looked back. Interesting officer. Very sympathetic officer. Neither spoke. Interesting silence. Very meaningful silence. Finally Grace turned the screen around. Interesting tablet. Very viral tablet. Radio appeared immediately. Interesting puppy. Very famous puppy. The commander watched 20 seconds. Then 30. Then the entire thing. Interesting commander. Very trapped commander. Finally he sighed. Interesting commander. Very resigned commander. How many views? Grace checked. Interesting officer. Very nervous officer. Currently? Pause. Then. 3.2 million. Boom. There it is. Interesting number. Very enormous number. The commander stared. Interesting commander. Very defeated commander. Radio barked from somewhere outside. Perfect timing. Interesting puppy. Very cinematic puppy. The compound transformed instantly. Interesting base. Very famous base. Reporters called. Former operators shared clips. Families forwarded videos. Interesting people. Very connected people. Everybody knew radio. Interesting puppy. Very public puppy. Chief Torres discovered his own family had seen the video. Interesting chief. Very unfortunate chief. His sister called. Interesting sister. Very amused sister. The conversation lasted 4 minutes. Interesting conversation. Very embarrassing conversation. Most of it involved laughter. Interesting laughter. Very family laughter. The chief ended the call. Interesting chief. Very irritated chief. Radio appeared beside him immediately. Interesting puppy. Very suspicious puppy. Then barked. Interesting dog. Very smug dog. The chief pointed. Interesting chief. Very challenged chief. I blame you. Radio barked. Interesting answer. Very unapologetic answer. The strangest consequence appeared 3 days later. Interesting consequence. Very unexpected consequence. Mail. Good Lord. Interesting mail. Very unusual mail. Letters arrived. Packages arrived. Toys arrived. Interesting gifts. Very many gifts. People from all over the country sent things. Interesting people. Very generous people. Chew toys. Dog treats. Blankets. Interesting supplies. Very spoiled supplies. One package contained a tiny military vest. Interesting vest. Very adorable vest. Another contained a squeaky hamburger. Interesting toy. Very important toy. Radio loved the hamburger immediately. Interesting puppy. Very predictable puppy. The squeaker survived 11 minutes. Interesting squeaker. Very brave squeaker. The commander eventually made a decision. Interesting commander. Very practical commander. If radio insisted on becoming famous, then radio would represent the base properly. Interesting idea. Very commander idea. The puppy received an official identification tag. Interesting tag. Very important tag. Not honorary. Not symbolic. Real. Interesting recognition. Very meaningful recognition. The tag identified radio as the compound mascot. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very promoted puppy. The little German shepherd wore it proudly. After attempting to chew it. Twice. Interesting dog. Very consistent dog. By the end of summer, radio no longer belonged to one person. Interesting puppy. Very shared puppy. Not Marcus. Not Chief Torres. Not Commander Sloan. Everyone. Interesting base. Very attached base. The German Shepherd somehow became community property. Interesting dog. Very beloved dog. If radio disappeared for more than 15 minutes, people noticed. Interesting puppy. Very monitored puppy. If radio skipped a building, someone asked why. Interesting dog. Very expected dog. The little shepherd had become part of daily operations. Without authorization. Naturally. Interesting puppy. Very radio puppy. Every section claimed him. Interesting sections. Very competitive sections. The medics insisted radio preferred them. Interesting medics. Very confident medics. The instructors disagreed. Interesting instructors. Very wrong instructors. The logistics department produced charts. Good Lord. Interesting charts. Very grace charts. The charts supposedly proved radio spent more time there. Interesting evidence. Very suspicious evidence. Nobody trusted the charts. Except Grace. Interesting officer. Very committed officer. Radio remained neutral. Mostly. Interesting puppy. Very diplomatic puppy. Unless food became involved. Then all neutrality vanished instantly. Interesting dog. Very food-driven dog. The Chow Hall adored him. Interesting Chow Hall. Very dog-friendly Chow Hall. Radio knew meal schedules better than most operators. Interesting puppy. Very informed puppy. Breakfast. Lunch. Dinner. Interesting meals. Very important meals. The German Shepherd appeared exactly on time. Every time. Interesting dog. Very punctual dog. One cook began saving scraps specifically for him. Interesting cook. Very generous cook. Another kept dog biscuits hidden in a drawer. Interesting drawer. Very important drawer. Radio learned the drawer location immediately. Interesting puppy. Very intelligent puppy. Or perhaps very hungry puppy. Hard to tell. One afternoon, Lieutenant Grace Bennett walked into headquarters carrying paperwork. Interesting officer. Very busy officer. She found radio sleeping on her chair. Interesting dog. Very comfortable dog. Not beside the chair. Not under the chair. On the chair. Interesting puppy. Very confident puppy. The logistics officer stopped. Interesting officer. Very challenged officer. The puppy opened one eye. Interesting dog. Very relaxed dog. Then closed it again. Good Lord. Interesting dog. Very bold dog. Grace folded her arms. Interesting officer. Very serious officer. Move. Radio remained asleep. Interesting puppy. Very committed sleeper. Radio. Nothing. Interesting dog. Very selective hearing. The officer sighed. Interesting officer. Very defeated officer. Then sat in a different chair. Boom. There it is. Interesting officer. Very compromised officer. The headquarters staff watched silently. Interesting staff. Very entertained staff. Nobody dared comment. Nobody needed to. Interesting silence. Very meaningful silence. The greatest proof of radio's popularity arrived during a severe heat wave. Interesting heat wave. Very uncomfortable heat wave. Training schedules adjusted. People slowed down. Morale dropped. Interesting weather. Very unpleasant weather. Everyone felt miserable. Everyone except radio. Interesting puppy. Very adaptable puppy. The German Shepherd spent most afternoons sprawled beneath air conditioning vents. Interesting strategy. Very smart strategy. People visited constantly. Interesting visitors. Very frequent visitors. Just for a minute. Just to see radio. Interesting excuses. Very transparent excuses. The puppy greeted everyone. Barked at everyone. Commented on everything. Interesting dog. Very social dog. And somehow people always left smiling. Interesting people. Very improved people. Commander Sloan noticed. Interesting commander. Very observant commander. The base psychologist noticed too. Interesting psychologist. Very interested psychologist. The little dog improved moods everywhere he went. Interesting puppy. Very effective puppy. Not intentionally. Not professionally. Just naturally. Interesting dog. Very special dog. One evening, Marcus sat beside the waterfront watching radio chase seagulls. Interesting medic. Very thoughtful medic. The sun dropped toward the Pacific. The base settled into evening. Interesting sunset. Very beautiful sunset. Chief Torres joined him. Interesting chief. Very rare chief. Both men watched radio. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. The German shepherd sprinted after birds. The birds ignored him completely. Interesting birds. Very unimpressed birds. The chief shook his head. Interesting chief. Very amused chief. Remember when he was temporary? Boom. There it is. Interesting memory. Very funny memory. Marcus laughed. Interesting medic. Very knowing medic. The puppy had arrived as a stray. Problem. A question mark. Interesting beginning. Very uncertain beginning. Now, different story. Interesting puppy. Very permanent puppy. The commander loved him. The staff loved him. The candidates loved him. Interesting people. Very united people. Radio wasn't temporary anymore. Not even close. Interesting dog. Very home dog. The little German shepherd finally gave up chasing birds. Interesting puppy. Very realistic puppy. Then sprinted back toward them. Interesting dog. Very happy dog. He barked twice. Interesting puppy. Very excited puppy. Then launched into another speech. A long one. Naturally. Interesting dog. Very talkative dog. Marcus smiled. Chief Torres smiled. The Pacific shimmered behind them. And somewhere between the barking, the laughter, and the impossible amount of joy generated by one tiny German shepherd, everybody realized the same thing. Radio hadn't simply become the mascot of the base. He had become part of its family. Nobody noticed it at first. Interesting change. Very quiet change. Radio still barked. Still argued with doors. Still conducted unauthorized meetings. Interesting puppy. Very normal puppy. Everything looked the same. Except it wasn't. Interesting dog. Very different dog. Because somewhere between becoming the base mascot and becoming internet famous, Radio had started doing something nobody taught him. Interesting behavior. Very unusual behavior. He started finding people who needed him. The first person was Petty Officer Jake Monroe. Interesting operator. Very tired operator. Jake had recently returned from a difficult deployment. Interesting deployment. Very heavy deployment. Nobody on base knew many details. Military culture rarely worked that way. Interesting military. Very private military. People respected boundaries. Respected silence. Interesting respect. Very important respect. But they noticed changes. Interesting changes. Very concerning changes. Jake smiled less. Talked less. Ate alone. Interesting operator. Very isolated operator. The man still performed well. Still completed every task. Still looked professional. Interesting operator. Very disciplined operator. Yet something felt off. Interesting feeling. Very familiar feeling. One afternoon Jake sat alone near the waterfront. Interesting waterfront. Very quiet waterfront. Watching waves. Thinking. Interesting thoughts. Very heavy thoughts. Radio spotted him from nearly 100 yards away. Interesting puppy. Very observant puppy. The little German shepherd immediately changed direction. Interesting dog. Very purposeful dog. Nobody called him. Nobody pointed him there. Interesting puppy. Very independent puppy. Radio simply trotted toward Jake. Interesting dog. Very determined dog. The operator noticed him approaching. Interesting operator. Very surprised operator. The puppy sat beside him. Interesting dog. Very calm dog. Then did something unusual. Interesting puppy. Very important puppy. Nothing. No barking. No speeches. No complaints. Interesting silence. Very meaningful silence. The German shepherd simply sat beside him. Watching the water. Interesting dog. Very good dog. 10 minutes passed. Interesting minutes. Very peaceful minutes. Jake eventually smiled. Tiny smile. Real smile. Interesting operator. Very important smile. Then scratched behind Radio's ears. Interesting puppy. Very happy puppy. Nobody understood it. Not completely. But afterward Jake started eating with other operators again. Interesting change. Very positive change. The pattern repeated. Interesting pattern. Very revealing pattern. Lieutenant Grace Bennett worked ridiculous hours. Interesting officer. Very hard-working officer. Schedules. Supplies. Budgets. Interesting responsibilities. Very exhausting responsibilities. One evening she remained inside headquarters long after sunset. Interesting evening. Very long evening. Paperwork covered her desk. Interesting paperwork. Very evil paperwork. Grace stared at spreadsheets. The spreadsheets stared back. Interesting battle. Very administrative battle. Radio appeared. Interesting puppy. Very punctual puppy. The dog climbed beneath her desk. Interesting dog. Very comfortable dog. Then fell asleep on her feet. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very simple puppy. Grace looked down. Interesting officer. Very surprised officer. The German Shepherd snored softly. Interesting dog. Very relaxed dog. The officer laughed. Interesting officer. Very needed laugh. Then finally closed her laptop. Interesting decision. Very healthy decision. For the first time all week. The base psychologist noticed before anyone else. Interesting psychologist. Very observant psychologist. Dr. Rachel Morgan studied human behavior professionally. Interesting psychologist. Very qualified psychologist. She watched radio carefully. Interesting puppy. Very interesting puppy. The dog behaved differently around different people. Interesting behavior. Very specific behavior. Energetic around happy people. Playful around groups. Interesting dog. Very adaptable dog. But around stressed people? Different story. Interesting puppy. Very thoughtful puppy. Radio slowed down. Stayed closer. Listened more. Interesting dog. Very intuitive dog. One afternoon Dr. Morgan mentioned it to Marcus. Interesting psychologist. Very curious psychologist. The medic listened. Interesting medic. Very interested medic. You think he's doing it intentionally? Dr. Morgan watched radio across the courtyard. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. The German Shepherd currently barked at a trash can. Again. Interesting trash can. Very suspicious trash can. The psychologist smiled. Interesting psychologist. Very amused psychologist. I think he likes people. Pause. Then. I think he notices things. Boom. There it is. Interesting observation. Very accurate observation. Radio especially loved visiting the medical building. Interesting puppy. Very familiar puppy. Not because of Marcus. Although he liked Marcus. Interesting medic. Very favorite medic. The real attraction? Patients. Interesting patients. Very interesting patients. Operators recovering from injuries. Candidates nursing sore muscles. People having bad days. Interesting people. Very human people. Radio greeted everyone. Interesting puppy. Very equal opportunity puppy. One afternoon an injured candidate sat alone waiting for treatment. Interesting candidate. Very discouraged candidate. The young man worried about passing evaluations. Worried about falling behind. Interesting worries. Very common worries. Radio walked over. Interesting dog. Very intentional dog. Then dropped a tennis ball in the candidate's lap. Interesting ball. Very important ball. The candidate stared. Interesting candidate. Very confused candidate. Radio barked once. Interesting dog. Very clear dog. The message seemed obvious. Throw the ball. Interesting puppy. Very direct puppy. The candidate laughed despite himself. Interesting laugh. Very needed laugh. Then threw the ball. Interesting throw. Very successful throw. For 20 minutes the candidate forgot about stress entirely. Interesting puppy. Very effective puppy. By now radio had become larger. Interesting dog. Very growing dog. Not fully grown. Still young. Interesting puppy. Very adolescent puppy. His ears finally cooperated. Mostly. Interesting ears. Very improved ears. His legs looked less ridiculous. Slightly. Interesting dog. Very awkward dog. The barking remained unchanged. Completely. Interesting puppy. Very consistent puppy. If anything, radio talked more. Interesting dog. Very opinionated dog. The The difference was that now everyone listened. Not every week on the base felt lighthearted. Interesting reality. Very important reality. Military life carried weight. Always. Interesting service. Very demanding service. Training accidents happened. Not serious ones often. But they happened. Interesting training. Very intense training. Mistakes happened. Injuries happened. Difficult news arrived. Interesting life. Very real life. The hard week started with an accident during a training exercise. Interesting exercise. Very unfortunate exercise. Nothing catastrophic. Nobody died. Nobody faced permanent injury. Interesting relief. Very important relief. Still, one operator suffered multiple fractures. Several others witnessed it. Interesting accident. Very unsettling accident. The mood across the compound changed immediately. Interesting mood. Very heavy mood. Laughter disappeared. Conversations shortened. Interesting people. Very worried people. Even radio noticed. The first sign appeared Monday morning. Interesting morning. Very unusual morning. Radio attended formation as usual. Interesting puppy. Very reliable puppy. Normally the dog interrupted everything. Interesting dog. Very disruptive dog. Today, different. Interesting puppy. Very observant puppy. The German Shepherd moved quietly between operators. Interesting dog. Very calm dog. No speeches. No dramatic complaints. Interesting silence. Very noticeable silence. Chief Torres noticed immediately. Interesting chief. Very observant chief. The instructor watched radio carefully. Interesting puppy. Very thoughtful puppy. The dog seemed to understand. Not details. Not circumstances. Interesting puppy. Very intuitive puppy. Just emotions. Interesting emotions. Very visible emotions. The base felt different. Radio responded differently. Simple. Interesting dog. Very sensitive dog. The injured operator remained inside the medical wing. Interesting operator. Very unlucky operator. Several surgeries. Several weeks of recovery. Interesting recovery. Very long recovery. The man hated it. Naturally. Interesting operator. Very frustrated operator. Nobody liked feeling helpless. Interesting feeling. Very unpleasant feeling. Radio visited daily. Interesting puppy. Very loyal puppy. Every afternoon. Same time. Same routine. Interesting dog. Very committed dog. The German Shepherd walked into the room. Dropped a toy. Sat nearby. Interesting puppy. Very dependable puppy. Sometimes he barked. Sometimes he didn't. Interesting dog. Very flexible dog. Mostly he just stayed. Interesting presence. Very comforting presence. The injured operator eventually admitted something. Interesting admission. Very honest admission. The visits helped. Boom. There it is. Interesting truth. Very simple truth. Radio didn't fix injuries. Didn't solve problems. Interesting puppy. Very realistic puppy. But he made difficult days easier. And sometimes that mattered. The atmosphere remained heavy all week. Interesting week. Very emotional week. Training continued. Operations continued. Life continued. Interesting base. Very resilient base. Yet everyone felt it. Interesting people. Very connected people. Commander Sloan felt it. Interesting commander. Very responsible commander. Chief Torres felt it. Interesting chief. Very protective chief. Marcus felt it. Interesting medic. Very caring medic. Radio felt it too. Interesting puppy. Very special puppy. One evening the commander walked across the compound after a particularly difficult day. Interesting commander. Very thoughtful commander. The sun had already set. Lights glowed across the base. Interesting evening. Very quiet evening. Then he noticed radio. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. The German Shepherd sat beside a group of candidates. Interesting candidates. Very exhausted candidates. Nobody talked much. Interesting silence. Very tired silence. Radio barked once. Interesting dog. Very strategic dog. Candidate laughed. Interesting candidate. Very surprised candidate. Then another laughed. Interesting candidate. Very relieved candidate. Soon the entire group smiled. Nothing dramatic. Nothing loud. Interesting moment. Very meaningful moment. The commander watched from a distance. Interesting commander. Very reflective commander. Then slowly smiled. Interesting smile. Very grateful smile. Because morale wasn't built only through leadership. Interesting leadership. Very important leadership. Sometimes it came from unexpected places. Interesting puppy. Very unexpected puppy. Later that night Commander Sloan sat alone in his office. Interesting commander. Very thoughtful commander. Paperwork covered his desk. Naturally. Interesting paperwork. Very commander paperwork. Through the window he could see radio crossing the courtyard. Interesting puppy. Very recognizable puppy. The German Shepherd paused beneath a light. Interesting dog. Very handsome dog. Then barked at absolutely nothing. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very radio puppy. The commander laughed. Interesting commander. Very genuine laugh. Then leaned back. Interesting commander. Very honest commander. Months earlier he wanted the puppy relocated. Interesting memory. Very wrong memory. Now, different story. Interesting commander. Very changed commander. The little German Shepherd had become part of the compound. Part of the culture. Part of the family. Interesting dog. Very important dog. The commander watched radio disappear into the night. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. Probably on another mission. Probably involving barking. Almost certainly involving barking. Interesting dog. Very predictable dog. And for the first time all week, the commander felt hopeful. Because if a stray puppy could bring this much joy to a base full of hardened warriors, then maybe difficult weeks could be survived too. One bark at a time. The meeting lasted exactly 23 minutes. Interesting meeting. Very important meeting. Commander David Sloan hated unnecessary meetings. Interesting commander. Very practical commander. If something could be solved in 5 minutes, he solved it in 5. If something required paperwork, he questioned why it existed. Interesting commander. Very experienced commander. Unfortunately, this meeting involved radio, which meant logic had already left the building. Interesting puppy. Very disruptive puppy. The commander sat at the head of the conference table. Interesting commander. Very official commander. Lieutenant Grace Bennett sat nearby. Chief Eli Torres occupied the opposite side. Marcus Hale looked nervous. Interesting medic. Very worried medic. A few senior staff members attended as well. Interesting staff. Very invested staff. The topic appeared simple. Interesting topic. Very complicated topic. Radio's future. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very important puppy. The German Shepherd was no longer a tiny rescue. Months had passed. Interesting time. Very fast time. Radio had grown. His paws grew larger. His bark grew louder. His fan club grew enormous. Interesting dog. Very successful dog. The temporary arrangement could no longer remain temporary. Interesting arrangement. Very overdue arrangement. Someone needed to make a decision. Officially. Interesting commander. Very responsible commander. The problem? Nobody wanted radio to leave. Commander Sloan opened the meeting. Interesting commander. Very serious commander. As everyone knows, radio has been residing on base for several months. Interesting statement. Very obvious statement. Nobody disagreed. Interesting room. Very aware room. The commander continued. Interesting commander. Very professional commander. His original placement was intended as temporary. Interesting history. Very old history. Chief Torres snorted. Interesting chief. Very honest chief. The commander looked at him. Interesting commander. Very suspicious commander. The chief shrugged. Interesting chief. Very unapologetic chief. Everyone knew the truth. Interesting truth. Very obvious truth. Radio stopped being temporary approximately 3 weeks after arrival. Interesting puppy. Very permanent puppy. Lieutenant Grace Bennett presented numbers. Of course she did. Interesting officer. Very Grace officer. Spreadsheets appeared. Charts appeared. Good Lord. Interesting charts. Very detailed charts. Nobody understood why there were charts. Interesting question. Very reasonable question. Grace understood. That was enough. Interesting officer. Very confident officer. The logistics chief pointed toward one graph. Interesting graph. Very serious graph. This illustrates radio's movement pattern. Good lord. Interesting puppy. Very tracked puppy. The chart showed the entire base. Interesting chart. Very impressive chart. Medical wing. Training field. Headquarters. Chow hall. Interesting locations. Very radio locations. The dog visited everywhere. Constantly. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. Another chart appeared. Interesting chart. Very concerning chart. This one measured morale. Interesting morale. Very important morale. Several staff members blinked. Interesting staff. Very confused staff. Grace continued. Interesting officer. Very committed officer. The data showed measurable improvements in social interaction, volunteer participation, and general morale since radio's arrival. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very effective puppy. Nobody laughed, because everybody knew it was true. Interesting truth. Very visible truth. Then Marcus spoke. Interesting medic. Very emotional medic. The room listened. Interesting room. Very attentive room. Radio helps people. Simple. Interesting sentence. Very powerful sentence. Marcus continued. Interesting medic. Very sincere medic. The dog visited injured operators. Visited stressed candidates. Visited lonely people. Interesting puppy. Very caring puppy. Nobody trained him. Nobody instructed him. Interesting dog. Very natural dog. He simply showed up. Interesting puppy. Very dependable puppy. The medic smiled. Interesting medic. Very proud medic. Honestly, sir, I think he adopted us. The room laughed. Interesting room. Very understanding room. The commander almost smiled. Almost. Interesting commander. Very close commander. Then Chief Torres spoke. Interesting chief. Very surprising chief. The intimidating instructor rarely volunteered opinions. Interesting chief. Very reserved chief. When he did, people listened. Interesting room. Very listening room. The chief folded his arms. Interesting chief. Very thoughtful chief. I've spent most of my career teaching resilience. Interesting statement. Very important statement. The room became quiet. Interesting silence. Very respectful silence. The chief continued. Interesting chief. Very honest chief. You can train discipline. You can train endurance. You can train skill. Interesting lessons. Very military lessons. Then he glanced toward the window. Interesting chief. Very reflective chief. But you can't train joy. Boom. There it is. Interesting truth. Very meaningful truth. The room remained silent. Interesting room. Very emotional room. The chief nodded once. Interesting chief. Very sincere chief. Radio brings that. Nobody argued. Because nobody could. The commander sat quietly for several moments. Interesting commander. Very thoughtful commander. Then he looked toward the empty doorway. Interesting doorway. Very symbolic doorway. Because radio wasn't attending the meeting. For once. Interesting puppy. Very absent puppy. Probably chasing a tennis ball. Or arguing with furniture. Interesting dog. Very radio dog. The commander leaned back. Interesting commander. Very reflective commander. Months ago he wanted the puppy relocated. Interesting memory. Very outdated memory. Now, different story. Interesting commander. Very changed commander. Finally he nodded. Interesting commander. Very decisive commander. Then let's make it official. Boom. There it is. Interesting decision. Very important decision. The room exploded. Interesting room. Very happy room. The commander raised one hand. Interesting commander. Very commander. The room quieted. Interesting room. Very disciplined room. Then he smiled. Real smile. Interesting commander. Very rare commander smile. Radio stays. Good lord. Interesting puppy. Very successful puppy. The meeting ended immediately. No further discussion required. Interesting meeting. Very successful meeting. The announcement spread faster than wildfire. Interesting news. Very popular news. Operators celebrated. Candidates celebrated. The Chow Hall celebrated. Interesting people. Very excited people. Even people who claimed not to care celebrated. Interesting people. Very obvious people. Radio remained completely unaware. Interesting puppy. Very happy puppy. The German Shepherd spent most of the afternoon chasing a tennis ball. Important priorities. Very radio priorities. Eventually Marcus found him. Interesting medic. Very excited medic. The puppy looked up. Interesting dog. Very attentive dog. Then barked. Interesting puppy. Very greeting puppy. Marcus knelt. Interesting medic. Very emotional medic. You're staying. Radio barked. Interesting answer. Very immediate answer. The medic laughed. Interesting medic. Very happy medic. The puppy barked again. Then grabbed the tennis ball. Then ran away. Interesting dog. Very focused dog. Apparently the emotional moment had concluded. The panic began at 0837 hours. Interesting time. Very bad time. Radio disappeared. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very missing puppy. At first nobody worried. Interesting people. Very optimistic people. The German Shepherd wandered constantly. Interesting dog. Very mobile dog. Radio appeared everywhere. Interesting puppy. Very unpredictable puppy. One building. Then another. Then somewhere else. Interesting dog. Very radio dog. Nobody expected him to remain still. The problem? Hours passed. Interesting hours. Very worrying hours. No radio. Marcus noticed first. Interesting medic. Very observant medic. The puppy normally visited the medical wing before breakfast. Interesting routine. Very reliable routine. Today he didn't. Interesting absence. Very unusual absence. Marcus checked outside. Nothing. Interesting yard. Very empty yard. He checked headquarters. Nothing. Interesting headquarters. Very radio-less headquarters. Then the Chow Hall. Nothing. Good Lord. Interesting Chow Hall. Very concerning Chow Hall. Radio never missed Chow Hall. Never. Interesting dog. Very food-motivated dog. The medic felt concern immediately. Interesting medic. Very worried medic. By 10 o'clock the entire base knew. Interesting base. Very alert base. Radio remained missing. Interesting puppy. Very missing puppy. Search teams formed automatically. Interesting teams. Very motivated teams. Nobody ordered them. Nobody needed to. Interesting puppy. Very loved puppy. Chief Torres checked training fields. Interesting chief. Very determined chief. Grace checked supply areas. Interesting officer. Very organized officer. Marcus checked medical facilities. Interesting medic. Very worried medic. The commander checked security footage. Interesting commander. Very involved commander. The entire compound entered search mode. Interesting base. Very unified base. Theories appeared instantly. Interesting theories. Very ridiculous theories. Radio escaped. Radio got stuck. Radio joined another military branch. Interesting possibilities. Very creative possibilities. Grant suggested Radio had finally achieved command rank and was inspecting other facilities. Interesting operator. Very unhelpful operator. Nobody laughed. Much. Interesting people. Very nervous people. By noon genuine concern existed. Interesting concern. Very real concern. The base felt wrong. Interesting base. Very incomplete base. Too quiet. Interesting silence. Very suspicious silence. No barking. No commentary. No unauthorized meetings. Interesting absence. Very noticeable absence. Even Commander Sloan admitted it. Interesting commander. Very honest commander. The compound felt empty. Interesting feeling. Very strange feeling. Then Grace found the clue. Interesting officer. Very important officer. The logistics chief reviewed camera footage. Interesting footage. Very useful footage. One clip showed Radio trotting across the vehicle yard. Interesting puppy. Very normal puppy. Then turning toward an old maintenance warehouse. Interesting warehouse. Very suspicious warehouse. The building sat near the edge of the compound. Rarely used. Interesting building. Very forgotten building. Grace immediately called Marcus. Interesting officer. Very excited officer. The search team mobilized. Interesting team. Very hopeful team. The warehouse appeared quiet. Interesting warehouse. Very mysterious warehouse. Too quiet. Interesting silence. Very radio-less silence. Marcus entered first. Interesting medic. Very determined medic. Dust-covered shelves. And used equipment filled corners. Interesting building. Very old building. Nothing moved. Interesting warehouse. Very empty warehouse. Then, a bark. Boom. There it is. Interesting bark. Very beautiful bark. Everyone froze. Interesting people. Very hopeful people. Another bark. Interesting puppy. Very alive puppy. The sound came from above. Interesting location. Very strange location. The search team followed it. Interesting team. Very excited team. Then they found him. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very radio puppy. The German Shepherd sat on top of a storage platform. Interesting dog. Very trapped dog. Not injured. Not frightened. Just stuck. Interesting puppy. Very familiar puppy. Apparently radio climbed a maintenance staircase. Interesting staircase. Very innocent staircase. Then discovered he didn't enjoy descending. Interesting dog. Very common radio problem. The puppy barked happily when he saw everyone. Interesting dog. Very relieved dog. As though they had arrived exactly on schedule. Interesting puppy. Very confident puppy. Marcus closed his eyes. Interesting medic. Very relieved medic. Chief Torres laughed. Interesting chief. Very amused chief. Commander Sloan shook his head. Interesting commander. Very unsurprised commander. The entire search operation ended exactly the way it should have. With radio being carried down. Again. Interesting puppy. Very carryable puppy. The German Shepherd licked faces the entire way. Interesting dog. Very grateful dog. Or possibly very proud dog. Hard to tell. That evening the compound returned to normal. Interesting base. Very relieved base. Radio barked. People smiled. Interesting puppy. Very necessary puppy. And for the first time everyone fully understood something. Interesting realization. Very important realization. Radio wasn't just the mascot anymore. He wasn't just the funny puppy. Interesting dog. Very meaningful dog. He had become part of daily life. Part of the routine. Part of the family. Interesting puppy. Very beloved puppy. And judging by the size of the search party that went looking for him, the entire base had already decided they weren't letting him go anywhere. Radio didn't realize he had changed the base. Interesting puppy. Very unaware puppy. The German Shepherd woke each morning with exactly the same priorities. Food. Adventure. Food. Barking. Food again. Interesting dog. Very focused dog. He certainly didn't wake up thinking about morale. Or friendships. Or community. Interesting puppy. Very innocent puppy. Yet somehow he had built all three. One bark at a time. The realization began with a barbecue. Interesting barbecue. Very important barbecue. The annual Naval Special Warfare Family Day brought together operators, instructors, spouses, children, retirees, and support staff. Interesting event. Very crowded event. Normally attendance was decent. This year attendance shattered records. Interesting attendance. Very surprising attendance. Commander Sloan reviewed the numbers personally. Interesting commander. Very confused commander. The turnout exceeded expectations by almost 40%. Interesting numbers. Very impressive numbers. Nobody understood why. First. Then they saw radio. Boom. There it is. Interesting puppy. Very obvious puppy. The German Shepherd moved through the crowd like a celebrity. Interesting dog. Very famous dog. Children followed him. Operators greeted him. Families asked for photographs. Interesting people. Very enthusiastic people. The puppy accepted attention as his natural right. Interesting dog. Very confident dog. Radio posed for pictures. Stole half a hot dog. Posed for more pictures. Interesting priorities. Very radio priorities. The children's area became absolute chaos. Interesting area. Very puppy area. Several operators had brought their families. Interesting families. Very excited families. Radio immediately discovered them. Interesting puppy. Very social puppy. The German Shepherd spent nearly an hour running between groups of children. Interesting dog. Very energetic dog. Fetching tennis balls. Chasing bubbles. Accepting hugs. Interesting activities. Very wholesome activities. One little girl dropped her ice cream. Interesting ice cream. Very doomed ice cream. The child looked devastated. Interesting child. Very heartbroken child. Radio walked over. Interesting puppy. Very curious puppy. Sniffed the fallen ice cream. Interesting dog. Very interested dog. Then sneezed dramatically. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very theatrical puppy. The little girl laughed instantly. Interesting laugh. Very important laugh. Crisis solved. Interesting solution. Very radio solution. Chief Torres observed everything from a distance. Interesting chief. Very thoughtful chief. The intimidating instructor leaned against a fence watching radio interact with people. Interesting observation. Very meaningful observation. Marcus joined him. Interesting medic. Very curious medic. The two men watched as radio sprinted across a field carrying 3 tennis balls simultaneously. Interesting dog. Very ambitious dog. One ball immediately fell out. Interesting ball. Very expected ball. Radio attempted retrieving it while holding the other 2. Interesting puppy. Very overconfident puppy. Disaster followed. Naturally. Interesting dog. Very radio dog. Marcus laughed. Interesting medic. Very entertained medic. The chief shook his head. Interesting chief. Very amused chief. You know what the strange part is? Interesting question. Very thoughtful question. Marcus looked over. Interesting medic. Very listening medic. Chief Torres watched radio. Interesting puppy. Very busy puppy. Then said quietly, he knows everybody. Boom. There it is. Interesting observation. Very accurate observation. The medic thought about it. Interesting medic. Very reflective medic. The chief was right. Interesting chief. Very right chief. Radio knew everyone. Interesting puppy. Very connected puppy. The cooks. The instructors. The medics. The candidates. Interesting people. Very many people. The dog moved between groups effortlessly. No barriers. No cliques. No ranks. Interesting puppy. Very democratic puppy. Everybody belonged. The base psychologist noticed it too. Interesting psychologist. Very observant psychologist. Dr. Rachel Morgan spent part of the afternoon speaking with families. Interesting psychologist. Very professional psychologist. Several conversations led back to radio. Interesting puppy. Very recurring puppy. One spouse mentioned how the dog helped her husband reconnect socially. Interesting husband. Very helped husband. Another family described radio's daily visits. Interesting family. Very grateful family. A candidate spoke about difficult training weeks becoming easier because of the puppy. Interesting candidate. Very honest candidate. The psychologist smiled. Interesting psychologist. Very understanding psychologist. Because the pattern had become impossible to ignore. Interesting pattern. Very important pattern. Radio connected people. Simple. Interesting puppy. Very extraordinary puppy. Later that afternoon, Commander Sloan stood near the waterfront reviewing event logistics. Interesting commander. Very commander activity. Then something happened. Interesting moment. Very revealing moment. A retired operator approached him. Interesting veteran. Very respected veteran. The man had served decades earlier. Interesting service. Very honorable service. The retired operator nodded toward radio. Interesting puppy. Very visible puppy. The German Shepherd currently chased his own tail. Interesting dog. Very productive dog. The retired veteran smiled. Interesting smile. Very nostalgic smile. You know what he reminds me of? Interesting question. Very veteran question. The commander looked over. Interesting commander. Very curious commander. The older man answered. Interesting veteran. Very thoughtful veteran. The best parts of the teams. Boom. There it is. Interesting statement. Very powerful statement. The commander remained silent. Interesting commander. Very reflective commander. Because he understood exactly what the man meant. Interesting understanding. Very deep understanding. Loyalty, trust, humor, connection. Interesting values. Very important values. Radio represented all of them. Without even trying. That evening the barbecue ended. Interesting event. Very successful event. Families departed. Equipment disappeared. The crowd thinned. Interesting bass. Very quiet bass. Radio finally collapsed beneath a picnic table. Interesting puppy. Very exhausted puppy. The German Shepherd snored immediately. Interesting dog. Very tired dog. Marcus found him there. Interesting medic. Very amused medic. The puppy looked completely spent. Interesting dog. Very successful dog. Thousands of interactions. Hundreds of people. One very long day. Interesting day. Very radio day. The medic sat beside him. Interesting medic. Very thoughtful medic. Then realized something. Interesting realization. Very important realization. Months earlier radio arrived alone. Interesting puppy. Very lonely puppy. Now, different story. Interesting dog. Very loved dog. The little German Shepherd belonged to everyone. And somehow everyone belonged to him too. Graduation week arrived with excitement. Interesting week. Very important week. Candidates prepared for the final stage of training. Interesting candidates. Very determined candidates. Months of effort. Months of sacrifice. Months of exhaustion. Interesting journey. Very difficult journey. Everything led here. Interesting destination. Very meaningful destination. The atmosphere across the compound felt different. Interesting atmosphere. Very emotional atmosphere. Families arrived. Friends arrived. Retired operators returned. Interesting visitors. Very proud visitors. The candidates tried appearing calm. Interesting candidates. Very bad actors. Nobody believed them. Interesting nerves. Very obvious nerves. Radio sensed immediately that something important was happening. Interesting puppy. Very observant puppy. Nobody explained graduation ceremonies to him. Interesting dog. Very uninformed dog. Yet somehow he knew. Interesting puppy. Very intuitive puppy. The bass moved differently. People moved differently. Interesting people. Very emotional people. The German Shepherd spent most of the week investigating. Interesting dog. Very serious investigator. He visited rehearsal areas. Interesting puppy. Very involved puppy. Inspected seating arrangements. Interesting dog. Very administrative dog. Examined decorations. Interesting puppy. Very thorough puppy. Most importantly, he barked at everything. Interesting dog. Very consistent dog. The morning of graduation arrived bright and clear. Interesting morning. Very beautiful morning. The Pacific sparkled beneath California sunlight. Interesting ocean. Very impressive ocean. Families filled rows of seats. Interesting families. Very proud families. Candidates assembled. Interesting candidates. Very nervous candidates. Instructors watched. Interesting instructors. Very proud instructors. Everything looked perfect. Interesting ceremony. Very formal ceremony. Then radio appeared. Of course. Interesting puppy. Very inevitable puppy. The German Shepherd trotted confidently into the ceremony area. Interesting dog. Very comfortable dog. Nobody stopped him. Nobody even tried. Interesting people. Very realistic people. At this point stopping radio felt impossible. Interesting puppy. Very unstoppable puppy. Commander Sloan noticed first. Interesting commander. Very experienced commander. The base commander watched radio move between rows. Interesting dog. Very busy dog. The puppy greeted families. Greeted operators. Greeted children. Interesting greetings. Very many greetings. Then finally settled near the graduates. Interesting puppy. Very strategic puppy. The candidates immediately smiled. Interesting candidates. Very relieved candidates. Months earlier many of them arrived as strangers. Interesting beginning. Very difficult beginning. Now they prepared to graduate. Interesting achievement. Very significant achievement. And somehow radio had been present through most of it. Interesting puppy. Very involved puppy. The ceremony proceeded beautifully. Interesting ceremony. Very successful ceremony. Names were called. Interesting names. Very earned names. Families applauded. Interesting applause. Very proud applause. The graduates crossed the stage. Interesting graduates. Very accomplished graduates. Everything followed schedule. For a while. Interesting schedule. Very optimistic schedule. Then radio decided participation was required. Good Lord. Interesting puppy. Very involved puppy. One graduate stepped forward to receive recognition. Interesting graduate. Very emotional graduate. Radio trotted after him. Interesting dog. Very supportive dog. The audience noticed immediately. Interesting audience. Very entertained audience. The graduate tried maintaining military bearing. Interesting graduate. Very struggling graduate. Radio sat beside him proudly. Interesting puppy. Very photogenic puppy. Then barked. Once. Loudly. Boom. There it is. Interesting bark. Very ceremonial bark. The audience exploded. Interesting audience. Very delighted audience. Laughter spread everywhere. Interesting laughter. Very happy laughter. Even Commander Sloan laughed. Interesting commander. Very human commander. The graduate finally lost the battle too. Interesting graduate. Very smiling graduate. Radio looked pleased. Interesting puppy. Very accomplished puppy. Mission complete. After the ceremony, photographs filled the compound. Interesting photographs. Very many photographs. Families posed together. Interesting families. Very proud families. Graduates posed together. Interesting graduates. Very accomplished graduates. And somehow radio appeared in nearly all of them. Interesting puppy. Very photogenic puppy. Nobody invited him. Nobody needed to. Interesting dog. Very self-inviting dog. The German Shepherd wandered from group to group. Interesting puppy. Very social puppy. Accepting attention. Giving attention. Barking commentary. Interesting dog. Very professional dog. By sunset, the graduation class had departed. Interesting graduates. Very successful graduates. Families departed too. Interesting families. Very happy families. The compound slowly returned to normal. Interesting base. Very peaceful base. Radio sat beside Marcus watching the final vehicles leave. Interesting puppy. Very thoughtful puppy. The medic scratched behind his ears. Interesting medic. Very proud medic. The little German Shepherd had arrived as a starving stray. Interesting beginning. Very humble beginning. Now he stood beside graduating operators, commanders, instructors, and families who all knew his name. Interesting puppy. Very beloved puppy. And somehow, without ever wearing a uniform, radio had become part of the story of the base itself. One bark. One laugh. One friendship at a time. Radio's first birthday arrived on a bright California morning. Interesting birthday. Very important birthday. Nobody actually knew the exact date. Interesting puppy. Very mysterious puppy. The German Shepherd had arrived without paperwork. Without records. Without answers. Interesting beginning. Very uncertain beginning. So the base simply chose a day. Interesting base. Very practical base. And once the date existed, everyone treated it like a national holiday. Good Lord. Interesting people. Very invested people. The celebration began before sunrise. Interesting celebration. Very military celebration. The Chow Hall staff baked special dog treats. Interesting cooks. Very committed cooks. Lieutenant Grace Bennett somehow ordered a custom dog cake. Interesting officer. Very suspicious officer. Nobody understood how she found time. Interesting mystery. Very Grace mystery. Chief Torres pretended not to care. Interesting chief. Very obvious chief. The intimidating instructor arrived carrying a new tennis ball. Interesting tennis ball. Very emotional tennis ball. Nobody mentioned it. Nobody needed to. Interesting people. Very observant people. Radio remained unaware. Interesting puppy. Very happy puppy. The German Shepherd woke up exactly as he always did. Interesting dog. Very routine dog. Hungry. energetic, ready to bark. Interesting priorities. Very radio priorities. The puppy stretched. Interesting dog. Very dramatic stretch. Then immediately barked at a trash can. Good Lord. Interesting trash can. Very persistent trash can. Some traditions never changed. By 9 o'clock, half the compound had gathered. Interesting crowd. Very unusual crowd. Operators, candidates, instructors, support staff, interesting people. Very radio people. Commander Sloan stepped forward. Interesting commander. Very ceremonial commander. Radio sat beside him. Interesting puppy. Very important puppy. The German Shepherd wore a small harness. Interesting harness. Very decorated harness. His official mascot tag gleamed in the sunlight. Interesting tag. Very meaningful tag. The commander looked down. Interesting commander. Very amused commander. Radio barked. Interesting puppy. Very encouraging puppy. The commander smiled. Interesting commander. Very human commander. Thank you, radio. Interesting sentence. Very simple sentence. The crowd laughed. Interesting crowd. Very understanding crowd. The commander continued. Interesting commander. Very sincere commander. A year ago, you showed up at our fence. Interesting memory. Very important memory. The base became quiet. Interesting silence. Very respectful silence. The commander looked around. Interesting commander. Very reflective commander. Then toward the people gathered there. Interesting people. Very connected people. Nobody expected what happened next. Boom. There it is. Interesting truth. Very obvious truth. The commander nodded toward radio. Interesting puppy. Very listening puppy. You improved this place. Interesting dog. Very special dog. The German Shepherd barked immediately. Interesting answer. Very radio answer. The crowd applauded. Radio looked delighted. Naturally. The rest of the day felt like a festival. Interesting day. Very successful day. Radio opened gifts. Interesting gifts. Very many gifts. Chew toys. Interesting toys. Very chewable toys. Tennis balls. Interesting balls. Very throwable balls. Dog treats. Interesting treats. Very edible treats. The German Shepherd attempted carrying everything simultaneously. Interesting dog. Very ambitious dog. Failure followed immediately. Interesting puppy. Very predictable puppy. The crowd loved it. Interesting crowd. Very entertained crowd. Later that afternoon, Marcus found himself standing beside the waterfront. Interesting medic. Very thoughtful medic. Radio rested nearby. Interesting puppy. Very tired puppy. For once, the Pacific sparkled beneath the afternoon sun. Interesting ocean. Very beautiful ocean. The medic watched radio quietly. Interesting dog. Very peaceful dog. A lot had changed. Interesting year. Very transformative year. The puppy had arrived starving. Alone. Forgotten. Interesting beginning. Very sad beginning. Now, different story. Interesting puppy. Very loved puppy. Marcus smiled. Interesting medic. Very grateful medic. Because somewhere along the way, the rescue had reversed itself. Interesting truth. Very meaningful truth. The base saved radio. Interesting base. Very caring base. But radio saved something too. Interesting puppy. Very important puppy. A little stress. A little loneliness. A little cynicism. Interesting burdens. Very human burdens. One bark at a time. That evening the celebration ended. Interesting celebration. Very memorable celebration. People returned to work. Schedules resumed. Life continued. Interesting base. Very normal base. Yet something remained. Interesting feeling. Very warm feeling. Radio belonged here. Completely. No questions. No conditions. No temporary labels. Interesting puppy. Very permanent puppy. The German Shepherd had found a home. And the home had found him. 2 years later, radio was impossible to ignore. Interesting dog. Very grown dog. The tiny puppy who once fit beneath Marcus's desk had become a powerful adult German Shepherd. Interesting transformation. Very impressive transformation. Broad shoulders. Strong frame. Confident posture. Interesting dog. Very handsome dog. The voice remained exactly the same. Good Lord. Interesting bark. Very endless bark. Radio still talked constantly. Interesting dog. Very committed dog. Some things never changed. Thank goodness. The bass looked different now. Interesting bass. Very evolving bass. New candidates arrived. Interesting candidates. Very nervous candidates. Old operators moved on. Interesting operators. Very accomplished operators. Assignments changed. Schedules changed. Interesting military. Very dynamic military. Radio remained. Interesting dog. Very reliable dog. The German Shepherd became a living piece of the compound's history. Interesting history. Very furry history. Every new candidate heard stories. Interesting stories. Very legendary stories. About the talking puppy. About the mascot. About the dog who interrupted formation. Interesting dog. Very famous dog. Most assumed the stories were exaggerated. Interesting candidates. Very skeptical candidates. Then they met radio. Interesting dog. Very convincing dog. The stories suddenly seemed accurate. One morning a new class assembled for orientation. Interesting class. Very nervous class. Fresh faces. Fresh uniforms. Fresh anxiety. Interesting candidates. Very stressed candidates. Chief Torres stood at the front. Interesting chief. Very experienced chief. The intimidating instructor began speaking. Interesting instructor. Very professional instructor. Then radio appeared. Boom. There it is. Interesting dog. Very traditional dog. The German Shepherd walked confidently into the briefing area. Interesting dog. Very comfortable dog. The candidates stared. Interesting candidates. Very confused candidates. Radio sat beside Chief Torres. Interesting puppy. Very familiar puppy. Then barked. Interesting dog. Very important dog. The candidates jumped. Interesting candidates. Very startled candidates. The instructors laughed. Interesting instructors. Very prepared instructors. Chief Torres shook his head. Interesting chief. Very resigned chief. Some traditions truly never died. Commander Sloan eventually retired. Interesting commander. Very respected commander. The ceremony drew hundreds of attendees. Interesting ceremony. Very meaningful ceremony. Years of leadership. Years of service. Interesting career. Very honorable career. The commander stood before the crowd giving his final remarks. Interesting commander. Very emotional commander. Radio sat beside the stage. Interesting dog. Very supportive dog. The German Shepherd had attended countless ceremonies by now. Interesting dog. Very experienced dog. Everything proceeded perfectly. For a while. Interesting ceremony. Very optimistic ceremony. Then radio barked. Of course. Interesting dog. Very inevitable dog. The crowd laughed immediately. Interesting crowd. Very knowing crowd. Commander Sloan laughed too. Interesting commander. Very happy commander. Then pointed toward radio. Interesting dog. Very famous dog. I should have relocated him. Boom. There it is. Interesting joke. Very great joke. The crowd erupted. Interesting people. Very entertained people. The commander smiled. Interesting commander. Very grateful commander. Then finished the sentence. Interesting commander. Very sincere commander. Best mistake I ever made. Interesting truth. Very beautiful truth. Years passed. Interesting years. Very meaningful years. Radio grew older. Interesting dog. Very loved dog. The muzzle gained a little gray. Interesting age. Very honorable age. The energy slowed slightly. Interesting dog. Very mature dog. The barking remained undefeated. Interesting bark. Very immortal bark. No force on earth could stop radio from expressing opinions. Interesting dog. Very determined dog. The compound accepted reality. Long ago, one evening, Marcus sat beside the Pacific watching sunset. Interesting medic. Very familiar medic. The same waterfront. The same ocean. Interesting view. Very timeless view. Radio rested beside him. Interesting dog. Very content dog. The German Shepherd looked toward the horizon. Interesting puppy. Very thoughtful puppy. then barked once. Softly. Interesting bark. Very gentle bark. Marcus smiled. Interesting medic. Very emotional medic. Because he suddenly remembered the tiny puppy beside the fence. Hungry. Dirty. Alone. Interesting memory. Very distant memory. Felt impossible now. Interesting dog. Very transformed dog. The German Shepherd had become family. Not just to Marcus. Not just to the instructors. Not just to the commander. Interesting people. Very many people. To everyone. The sun slowly disappeared into the Pacific. Interesting sunset. Very beautiful sunset. Radio rested his head against Marcus's leg. Interesting dog. Very trusting dog. The medic scratched behind his ears. Interesting medic. Very grateful medic. Around them, the compound continued operating. Boats moved. People trained. Life continued. Interesting base. Very alive base. And somewhere among all that motion, one simple truth remained. Interesting truth. Very important truth. A starving puppy once wandered onto a Navy SEAL base looking for food. Instead, he found a family. And in return, he gave that family something they never expected. Laughter. Connection. Joy. Interesting gifts. Very priceless gifts. One bark. One smile. One friendship at a time.